Podcast Answer Man, episode number 78. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Podcast Answer Man. My name is Cliff Ravenscraft, and boy, do I have some news for you today. Huge news in the area of Podcast Answer Man and GSPN.TV. But before we get to any of that, I'm going to be answering a question that I recently got in from Donald, and we'll be taking some feedback. So here we go. All right, folks, I am so excited about the future of GSPN.TV. And for those of you who have been just subscribers to the Podcast Answer Man, and you haven't heard about the other shows that I produce about 18, 19 shows total on a regular basis, and you can find all of the shows over at GSPN.TV. And we have just had some massive, major, exciting things take place in our community, just really launching things into the next level of what I'm doing as far as podcasting and new media as a career, doing this for a living, making a living, and providing for my family based upon an income of podcasting and new media. And, you know, a lot of you have been listening to me for a very long time, and you've been following me on this journey. And I'm here to tell you, I haven't quite got there yet, but we're moving in the right direction in such a way that I really believe that within a couple months, I believe within a couple months, it is entirely possible that 100% of my income will come in from producing podcasts. And that is huge. It is really huge. And I'm going to talk a lot about that in this episode. So if that upsets you, I apologize in front right now up here in the beginning of this episode. And, if you don't want to hear anything about that, then go ahead and just listen to the first question and my response to that question. And you can kind of just chill out and you can turn this thing off anywhere that you want to during this episode. It's completely cool. But for those of you who are interested in the podcasting realm, the new media realm, the possibility of earning a living, doing what you love, basically feeling called to something like this new media as a career, is it possible to make it happen? Well, I'm telling you that this is what I've been doing. It's been, a long road, a lot of basically, there's no path ahead of me, but I'm clearing the path as I go. And I invite you on this journey with me in order to continue on this journey with me. And today I'm going to share with you some changes that are taking place here for Podcast Answer Man that's going to take us into the next phase of what I really believe is the future of making all this happen. Before I do that, though, I just want to say thank you, everybody out there who has been recently sending in all your emails and your comments and checking out the tech tips section on the site over at podcastanswerman.com. Been very much happy about the amount of questions that are coming in, providing content for us to discuss here on the show. And so with that, I just want to let you know right now, I am excited to tell you that I am making a commitment to you guys. And I know I've been talking about this, but it's on the calendar now. Every single week, I'm bringing you an episode of the Podcast Answer Man. That's right, every single week. And I've got lots of content, and I have no doubt that you guys are going to continue to just bring on all the content. With that, let's go ahead to our first question that was called in by Donald, who happens to do a Lost podcast over on the Lost Podcast Network. So here's what Donald had to say recently.
Hey, Cliff, this is Donald from Louisiana. I'm calling for the Podcast Answer Man podcast, although I do listen to a lot of the shows. I've been catching up. I've been listening to a lot more. I just want to tell you, it's really refreshing, to go through this and listen to all of these old episodes because I've been podcasting for about 2 months. And some of the problems that I come across, I feel like I'm alone in this, and I don't know. I search forums, I search Google. And now going back and listening to all your old episodes, I'm finding a lot of the things that I had problems with, there are a lot of things that I currently am having problems with. You know, seems to be an episode for each one of my problems. I feel like you're just doing this podcast just for me. And I just want to say I really, really appreciate it. There's a few things that I do have problems with, but I don't want to ask them because it seems like every time I call and ask you a question, I find a podcast that answers it. So I'm going to go through these and try to catch up with them. One of the things I want to bring up is a lot of the sound clips that I put in the podcast are, I have this mouse clicking sound, and I can't get rid of it. I don't know. It's just something, just one of the many, many things that just ag me and just get on my nerves about my podcast. But I do a Lost podcast. I love your Lost podcast. That's one of the reasons one of the things that made me want to do it. I'm very, very interested. I know you do this one-on-one counseling or whatever, what have you. But I'm very, very, very interested in the equipment that you use. I know that some of the packages on your site are very, very pricey, but this Edirol thing, it fascinates me, and I really want to know more about that. I want to know if it's at all possible to plug in a USB mic. I have a Samsung USB condenser mic that I plug into my computer, and that's what I use. And I wonder if it's at all possible to use that with the Edirol. But I'm rambling on here. I feel like I'm doing a podcast myself. But I'll definitely give you an email because you definitely haven't heard the last of me. Thanks, man.
All right, Donald, thank you so much for that voicemail. What an awesome voicemail. Awesome question. And you're absolutely right. If you go to podcastanswerman.com and up in the navigation menu, you look at equipment, you'll find that I do have some packages for sale. And as far as pricey, I have some very low end. You know, of course, the packages that I sell, I don't want to sell anything that's going to provide you anything other than a very excellent sounding podcast. As far as getting very inexpensive stuff, you can go anywhere online and get yourself a USB microphone for $59 or $89 and stuff like that. I don't sell those. It's just not what I'm interested in doing. There's too many other places. And honestly, when it comes to equipment like that, those places out there, they're just, they sell such large volumes of those inexpensive mics that they can really cut the price down to where their profit margin is so low. And honestly, it just doesn't make sense for me to get involved in the sale of that kind of that kind of equipment. Now, that's not to say that I think that you should just give up podcasting if you aren't going to go full bore. I'm not saying that at all. I started out podcasting with a very cheap headset USB combination boom microphone attached to a pair of headphones, a little Logitech. I think I may have paid $49, $59 for it. That's how I started, with a laptop, recording directly into a laptop. Now, my sound was awful back then, but you know what? I still got my content out there, and I still got my passion out there, and people were drawn to the passion about the topic that I talked about, and they were drawn to the content that was being produced, and they put up with the sound. Now, over time, I decided, wow, this is something that, I'm really getting a lot of pleasure out of. I'm getting a lot of benefit of knowing that people are enjoying and being entertained by what I'm doing. And you know what? I would really like to, as a result of people taking their time and their energy and investing time in listening to me, I'd like to return that favor by giving them even better sounding quality. And so it was always a desire of mine to save up money and increasingly start putting money towards, more and more equipment. And over time, it did not happen overnight. The sound that you hear coming from this studio right now is 3 years later. Nearly 3 years later. And it was piece by piece by piece. I didn't go into debt, and I don't suggest anybody go into debt to start podcasting. Simply start small, use your USB microphone, do your podcast, make sure that you have the determination and the self-discipline to keep going. Don't start investing until you know for a fact that you are in this for the long haul. And if you're in it for the long haul, that's when you want to start considering getting that better equipment. And that's when, of course, you look at the majority of people that come to me, they don't come to me and say, Cliff, what can I get by with, the cheapest thing? Well, actually, they do ask me that. And I tell them, I say, go to Best Buy, pick up a Logitech USB microphone, download Audacity, and I will teach you how to use it using one of my webinars. And they're very inexpensive to attend one of the webinars. And I mean, literally, for under $150, you are on your way and absolutely propelled into the podcasting stratosphere. I mean, it is awesome stuff. You just can't get enough of really getting out there and speaking your passions to the world. And so I'm very excited about that. But you're right. The packages that I have, they start around the $299 level or whatever. And that's because I believe in certain ways of doing things. For one, I don't believe in USB microphones. I really believe in using a mixer. I don't believe in recording into computers anymore. There's too many issues with ground noise. I get a lot of phone calls. A lot of people want some help with consulting about their podcast. And one of the biggest calls that I get, I mean, I have about the top 10 calls that I get. But one of them is always this, I've got this strange buzzing noise bzzz, in the background. Well, it's usually your computer and all the internal workings inside of your computer. And no matter what software you use, whether you're using Adobe Audition or Audacity or GarageBand, it doesn't matter. You're not going to get all that stuff out. It's always going to be there. And so I always suggest, let's take it off of the computer. Let's record into a digital recorder. And so that's what Donald, of course, is talking about. And I want to just say, Donald, thank you so much for your purchase today. And did he buy one of my expensive packages? Absolutely not. Just because I have some packages of what I suggest and what are the most popular packages of equipment that people buy, that doesn't mean that's the only thing I sell. So, of course, I don't sell inexpensive equipment, the really cheap stuff. I have to, honestly, I'm not in this full time just to sell equipment. I have to make sure that what I sell has a pretty decent profit margin on it. And the good news is that the stuff I excel is still a whole lot less expensive than what you can find anywhere else. One of the things that you'll find is I don't price out on my site individual items. You won't see prices for individual items. And that is because there's this thing called minimum advertised pricing. And so no matter where you go on the web, we're bound as resellers. We can't sell anything, or we cannot advertise anything less than a certain price. And so if you want to find out how much I sell certain items for, best thing to do is send me an email, cliff@gspn.tv, or go to podcastanswerman.com. And of course, you can hit the contact form and you can ask me for a quote on a piece of equipment, and I can tell you the price at that time. And you'll find out, just how good the prices are. So with that said, Donald ended up, let me tell you what Donald purchased today. Today, Donald purchased an Edirol recorder, and I won't tell you the price he got, but you can contact me and I'll give you a quote on the price. He purchased an Edirol recorder. He did not need to purchase a mixer. Although I would have suggested a mixer, and I did suggest a mixer, but based upon what he wanted, he got a microphone, a dynamic microphone. He did not want to spend the money on the Heil just yet, and that's fine. He did get a Shure SM58, which is a very good microphone, nowhere near as good as sounding as this Heil PR40, but at the same time, it's not obviously a USB microphone's not going to plug into anything other than a computer. But anyway, he didn't get a condenser microphone, so it's not going to pick up all that clicking of the mouse noises and stuff like that. And so, but basically, you have this ability to take a dynamic microphone with an XLR cable and on one end and go straight into the 1/8-inch microphone input on your Edirol recorder, and he's got a little portable recording studio afterwards. In fact, here is a little sample using my Edirol with my Heil PR40 and this little cable. It explains itself. Hey, Donald, this is Cliff Ravenscraft, and I am responding to your email question regarding the Edirol recorder. I want to let you know what I'm doing right now is I am speaking into a dynamic microphone. It is a Heil PR40. I am not doing anything special to this. All I'm doing is speaking directly into a Heil PR40, and I am actually using a special cable that has XLR on one end, and it goes all the way down to a 1/8-inch stereo jack. So what I do is, of course, I have my XLR cable plugged into the Heil PR40, and then I go into what is the microphone input on the Edirol recorder. There's a microphone input and a line input. And so just to give you an idea of what the quality of sound sounds like, I'm not using a mixer. I'm not doing anything. Of course, at this point, without a mixer, I would certainly need to add any kind of special sound effects, audio clips. All that stuff would have to happen in post-production. But as far as portability goes, all I need to do is put my Heil PR40 microphone into my little carrying case, take a little tiny tabletop mic stand with me, and this cable and my Edirol, and I can virtually turn any place I want into my own private recording studio. So anyway, as far as what does the microphones on the Edirol sound like, I'm going to go ahead and play that for you now. Okay, so here I am. I've unplugged the Heil PR40 from the microphone input on the Edirol recorder. And of course, you can definitely tell the difference between dynamic microphones and condenser microphones. With a condenser microphone, it is a powered microphone in such a way, you were talking about the mouse clicks or keyboard clicks and all that other stuff. You're certainly going to hear mouse clicks if you're using a condenser microphone and you're not right up on it with it gained down really low. So that's one of the major problems that you have with a condenser microphone. But even still, when it comes to condenser microphones, this is still a pretty decent sounding recording, I think. Thought I'd let you know. This is just a little short recording for you, and I'm getting ready to send this to you in an email right now. Thanks.
All right, so basically I sent that to him in an email, and that's, of course, what eventually led to his purchase. And so I answered his question ahead of time, but I thought I'd answer it here as well. Now, one of the things that we did discuss is whether or not he needed a dynamic microphone or not, or if he could get by with using the onboard microphones. And I told him, here's the deal. If you want to use the onboard microphones, the important thing is that you don't do what I did in that sample, and that is record in your studio or record inside where it's normally quiet except for the echo of the room around you. I said instead what you want to do is if you want to use your onboard microphones, why not go to a Starbucks or something of that nature and let the ambiance set the room or set the mood for you. And the Edirol does a great job of picking that up, kind of like this. You know, we're out here right now recording this in the middle of the forest. And so here's my lost podcast, and I'm sitting outside, and basically you just record it outside, and of course I'm gonna shut off the forest there. In fact, that forest sound was recorded using the Edirol, by the way, just to give you a feel of how really great and wonderful the sound is. Here's another sound clip I recorded using the Edirol. Hear the fire in the background. Awesome stuff. And then, of course, you could always be outside in the middle of the city. Anyway, so yeah, I told him go. You know, as long as you got some ambient noise that kind of just makes people feel like they're there with you, that's kind of cool. But he said, "No, I kind of want to be in the studio. I kind of want to be inside, but I still want to take it places with me." And I said, "Well, you certainly are going to need a dynamic microphone. That way, you don't hear those mouse clicks and the echo off the wall." And so that's what he ended up purchasing. And so, just so you know, the little Edirol recorder and a cable and a dynamic microphone can be a portable recording solution for you. And I think the cost of all of that was right around $500 and some odd for everything.
And so if you're interested in anything like that, just let me know. We're going to move on to Dr. Anonymous, good friend of mine. I met him at PodCamp, Ohio, and he left me some feedback on the listener line over at area code 859-795-4067.
Hello, Cliff. This is Dr. A from DrAnonymous.com. This is feedback for the podcast Answer Man. First of all, I just want to thank you, and I just want to say it was great to meet you at PodCamp Ohio this past summer. You were so nice to talk to me and to answer all of my dumb questions about podcasting, and it was through that connection and checking out your website and the community there that really drew me and made me be a Plus member. So after that, I started reading back on Podcast Answer Man, and it really gave me a lot of tips on how to make my podcast flow a little bit better. And it was not anything major, it was little things, but little things do really add up, beginning with the opening of my show. And I started to implement those right away. And I got feedback from my listeners in July and August, right when I got back from podcast from PodCamp Ohio, that the beginning of the show, the first 4 minutes, which you say is very important, they said it felt a lot smoother. I got a lot of Twitter feedback saying it felt a lot smoother. So I definitely want to thank you for that. But the real reason for this feedback is that I did read recently about putting MP3s in a blog post, and I know that's a little bit easier to do on WordPress, and I'm not on WordPress yet. I've been tinkering with WordPress, but I'm not there yet, but I'm still over on Blogger.com, and just recently I put in a MP3 player in for one of my recent shows, and I got a lot of great feedback on that. I do have a player on there already, but I put it in the blog post itself, specifically describing that show. But just something little like that, as far as adding an MP3 player into a blog post, really meant a lot to my listeners. So I not only want to thank you for that, I want to thank you for all the great tips and all the advice that you've given me just to make my podcast better. So sorry for the long message, but thanks a lot for everything. I appreciate everything you do, and we'll see you later.
All right, Dr. A, thank you so much for your feedback. And I am so excited to know that you've been inspired to do some things within the first 4 minutes of your episode. It is very important to kind of set the pace of your show and to capture people's attention, let them know what to expect right up front so that they can, basically really be enticed to stay there for the whole show. And as far as those web buttons, as far as putting a flash player to your MP3 file in your blog entry, absolutely critical. I cannot tell you how many podcasters' websites I go to, and it just has, click here for MP3, and you click on it, and of course that either allows you to download the file, or it takes you to QuickTime, opens up in a whole new browser window. What that does is it takes people off of your website. You don't want people off of your website. You want them to stay on your website. So it's very important to be able to push a button, have them play the audio, the MP3 streaming in a flash little player on your blog entry so that they can continue to read the rest of your website, all the stuff you have on there. Let them learn about you and what you got going on your site. So very important that you keep people on your site. Flash players are a great way to do it. You want to learn how to do that for yourself? If you haven't seen it, go to podcastanswerman.com, click on Tech Tips, and scroll down until you see how to post MP3 flash players into any HTML site. There's an entire description on how to do it, and your listeners will thank you for it. All right, and Dr. A, thank you for being a Plus member too. You totally rock, man. We're going to talk a little bit about that. In fact, Wayne's up next. He wants to talk about why he became a Plus member, and then I'm going to explain to you the changes that are going to take place here at the Podcast Answer Man podcast.
Hi, Cliff and Stephanie. Wayne from Wayne Henderson Voiceovers here. I wanted to go ahead and send this in to kind of let you and the listeners of GSPN.TV know why I decided to become one of the charter GSPN Plus members. Now, basically, even though I do my own podcasts, I enjoy many of your podcasts, and I decided to become a Charter Plus member. One, because I didn't want to miss out on any of the information and entertainment that you provide. And even with all of the entertainment and news aside, paying only $10 a month for the amount of knowledge and information that I get from you is fantastic. I never miss an episode of the Podcast Answer Man podcast, nor do I ever miss Help I Got a Mac. I try to listen to all of the My Crazy Life and Almost Daily Devotional podcasts as well. And of course, the Weekly Lost podcast, the one that started it all. Never miss an episode of that. Going all the way back, I believe, to December of 2005 is when I first started listening to that show. So I want to support the both of you in your venture, making podcast and new media your full-time careers. And I think you're doing a fabulous job, and I just want to thank you for doing it.
Wayne, thank you so much. And you, my friend, are an awesome Plus member. Thank you for just really sharing with us why you feel it's worthwhile. And basically, that's going to lead me into the discussion of what we're doing here, Podcast Answer Man. I want to let you know you're not going to hear this show sponsored anymore. I want to tell you that Evan Agee over at ageedesign.com is an awesome guy, awesome friend, happens to be a Plus member of gspn.tv. And so basically, I have a very good friendship and relationship with Evan Agee. I'm still going to tell you to go to him for any of your podcast website needs. You need a totally awesome redesign of your site. You need some graphics for your artwork for your podcast. And I'm going to tell you, those little 300 by 300 images, it drives me crazy on my iPhone when I'm scrolling through the list and I see no album artwork and just that little cheesy default logo that Apple gives me. Get yourself some good artwork over at Evan Agee's site over at ageedesign.com. Not sponsoring this episode. In fact, it was my decision. I've decided I don't want to do sponsorship anymore. And for this podcast. Now, am I still going to do sponsorship for some of our other shows, faith-based shows and some of the family shows? Absolutely, if we can get sponsors for those. But really for this show here, one of the things that I have to do, folks, and just listen to my heart on this one, I've got to find a way to make ends meet financially for my family. My wife and I have a mortgage payment here, and we have 3 young children. We got health insurance that costs, I don't know, it's like $1,000 a month, and the business here has to pay for that. And to be honest with you, we have been scraping every little thing together to make ends meet, and we're just not there yet. But our goal is to get to 500 Plus members by the end of 2008. Plus members pay $10 a month. You do the math. $10 a month, 500. Did I say 500 or 5,000? I meant 500. You do the math. 500 Plus members, $10 a month. That's a good, solid income to provide for a family of 5 and this business, all the expenses of paying taxes, self-employment, health, and all the other stuff. And that's just barely paying the things. But that's our goal, is to get to 500. I'm here to tell you today we added 3 new Plus members. We're now at 157 Plus members. And so we're getting closer to that 200 mark. I've been so extremely blessed with the awesome gift of an awesome professional executive marketing director for a major, gigantic corporation. I cannot even begin to tell you how awesome it is. I can't tell you what corporation it is. I can't tell you the person's name, but let me just tell you, it is a blessing from God that we have this. And we're working on some things to really ramp up and get us to the 500 mark. And I really do believe, guys, that if I were to come to you guys and say, hey, are you really getting a lot of benefit out of the Podcast Answer Man? I believe you would say yes. Is what you're getting worth $10 a month? I think it is. And if it's not, well, then you should at least listen to 1 or 2 or 3 of our other shows over at gspn.tv. That stands for Generally Speaking Production Network. My wife and I do a ton of shows. And for $10 a month, it's not just paying for one podcast. It's you get every episode of every show we do. And how we do this, on all of our other shows, except for 2 faith-based shows and one show that's sponsored by an online Christian bookstore for a family show that we do. On all of our other shows, we have gone to this model except for Podcast Answer Man, and that has been where you get every other episode is released for free, but all episodes are released to Plus members, and there's a special feed that you get subscribed to, and you get delivered every single episode. But for those who continue to stay subscribed to this feed, we're going to still send you some content. Every other episode, you'll get it, but everybody on the Plus feeds gets every single episode. I really, trust me, it was not an easy decision for me to make, but it's actually, no, I take that back. It is an easy decision for me to make. I really believe that the content that you're getting here is solid. It's going to help continue to hone in and improve your podcast. We've got some excellent questions lined up to answer in the next episode. And not only that, I'm lining up right now as I speak. I've got a couple emails that I need to respond to in my inbox. I'm lining up some people who are going to join me on some regular panel discussions. So I'm bringing in some other friends of mine who are in podcasting and new media, and they've been experienced in it. And I'm going to bring them in for some panel discussions so we can talk about things from a very wide array of perspectives and experiences. And so we're going to bring more to the table. Podcast Answer Man's only getting better. The only thing is it's going to Plus member premium content most of the time. So every other episode you'll get it on the free feed. But I really want to ask you, will you go to gspn.tv/plus and become a Plus member today? When you hear this episode, just go to gspn.tv/plus. And let me tell you, again, Evan Agee, amazing. Get your stuff over there, ageedesign.com. I am going to tell you, you'll hear me mention him for a long time. Like I said, he's a good friend, personal good friend of mine, and I love his work. And I'm going to continue to mention him from this day forward, but just you're not going to hear this anymore.
This show is sponsored by Agee Design.
Need a new website?
I'm not going to be doing that anymore. Part of the reason why is that some of the things I'm going to do, especially when I've got the episodes that are free, I'm going to be doing my own little advertisements. I found that I really need to start talking about my webinars more and just talking about my equipment sales and telling you what specials I got going on. I'm gonna on the free episodes, I'm gonna talk to you about the value of Plus membership. And the one thing I don't want to turn into is a 13 minutes worth of advertisements. And you think I'm crazy? Let me tell you, and I'm going to end it with this. Okay, I'm going to end it with this. Leo Laporte is he's my all-time favorite podcaster, and Father Roderick is number 2, okay? Leo Laporte is such an inspiration to me, and he is like me in that he produces a ton of content, and I listen to about 3 or 4 of his podcasts on a weekly basis. Now, when he started out, he was one of those guys, and I'll never do advertising, but he was one of those guys that will never do advertising. In fact, he is very against advertising for a very long period of time. He says, we're just going to do this for free. I'm just doing this out of the kindness of my heart. I'm not going to concern myself. I've got my job doing radio. This is just for you guys. This is a hobby for me. And somewhere down the road, he eventually changed his perspective on that, which I totally respect. I am not against advertising. I think if you can get sponsors and advertisers and all those other things going on, that's completely fine. And matter of fact, Family from the Heart has the most awesome sponsor there, and Evan Agee has been the most awesome sponsor here. It really has worked out fine. I am not against it at all. I encourage sponsorship when it is appropriate for your show, and don't overdo it. I want to just say to you guys, one of the things I really do believe in this partial premium content, and eventually, one day, majority, if not almost all of it, going to premium content, where the people who are paying the $10 a month, they're the ones who make all this possible. And so I want to give to those people on a consistent basis, and I want to make sure that we're still getting out there. So you're always going to have some free stuff from me. That's not going to be an issue. And so, yeah, just a lot of that stuff. But what I'm going to do is I am going to end this podcast this way. I'm going to end this podcast this way. I want you to listen to this, okay? I'm going to ask you to become a Plus member. And I'm going to probably, in future episodes that are released on the free feed, I'm probably going to mention the fact that I sell equipment, and I'm going to mention the fact that I'm available for consulting, and I'm going to mention the fact that we have the ability for you to become a Plus member to receive every episode of the podcast Answer Man. And I'm probably going to take anywhere between 30 to 60 seconds to say that to you in all the future free episodes. For the Plus member only episodes, the one where it just goes to Plus members, I'm not even going to do that. I'm just going to give you answers and build into your knowledge base and help you improve your show, and not even give you any of the other stuff. But let me tell you what, by doing this route, what I want to do for you is I want to avoid what I have been experiencing on every show that my good friend Leo Laporte has been doing. And it saddens my soul that I almost despise listening to MacBreak Weekly and This Week in Tech and Net at Night. It's just the same advertiser every single week, and it's not just a 30-second little, hey, go check out Evan Agee at this site, or go talk to my friend over here. What I'm about to play for you is from episode number 107 of MacBreak Weekly. Then I'm not going to say any this. I'm going to close out the show. I'm done right here. I am done right here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to let them close out the show, and it's 13 minutes and 9 seconds of advertising in one episode. Help me avoid having to do this, because I will tell you, I can get the sponsors to pay for me to do what Leo does. The content's here, the niche audience is here, and the people are there that want to just pay me money to just do any kind of advertising to advertise their businesses. I've turned them away if they aren't a perfect glove fit. And so what I want to do is I want to go to Plus membership and ask you to be a Plus member so that we can avoid this. And I'll talk to you next week. God bless.
Bandwidth for MacBreak Weekly is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com. MacBreak Weekly is brought to you by Visa. With every purchase, Visa prevents, detects, and resolves online fraud. Safe, secure Visa. And by Drobo, the intelligent and automated data storage device, and the new second-generation Drobo with FireWire. To learn more and receive $25 off the Drobo of your choice, visit drobo.com/MacBreak. And by Audible. For a free audiobook and a whole lot more, visit audible.com/MacBreak. But first, a message from our friends at Audible.com. We usually put them in the back of the bus. We're going to move them up front and give them a nice spot right at the top of the show, because we know that Audible has been a wonderful resource for all of us here, all of us Audible listeners. If you go to audible.com/MacBreak right now, audible.com/MacBreak right now, you can get a free audio book from audible.com if you're already signed up for one. One of the things we've really had a good time doing, since we're all Audible listeners here, who isn't it? Is Scott not an Audible listener? I think Scott's not, but Alex is, and Andy is, and Merlin was, and I am. And it's always fun to pick a book, something wonderful to read. And Andy, I now know why you've been getting so much reading done.
Yeah,
you've had some time, some downtime where you can get some reading done.
I've had some downtime, and more than that, this is like sort of a double whammy year in that I had to move while this is going on, and I moved like about another half hour, 45 minutes away from my mom's place. So I've been really going through audiobooks in the car because these 45-minute, hour-long each-way commutes, it's fun for a while. I mean, I'm sorry, but when she went into hospice, it was like it's fun for a while, and then at some point you're like, okay, now let's try to. Yeah. I'm going to be alone in the car with just my thoughts for about an hour now. How about if we listen to Carl Reiner telling me his life story? Yes, that'll be much better. Good, let's do that.
Yeah.
Audible is a really big treat.
Yeah. You have a pick that you'd like to share with us? If not, I do. But
I do. It's. This is a really good pick for Audible because this was a book that I put down in the bookstore because I thought it was entertaining enough, but it just didn't sustain me. But they really did a great Audible version of it. The book is called World War Z.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. By Max Brooks. It is not a sequel, but a companion to the Zombie Survival Guide, which is already written by Max Brooks. The first book was about, well, if you're attacked by when zombies attack, here's what you do. He had a really clever idea for the follow-up, which is, so let's just pretend that the zombie war happened, and let's just do like an oral history. Let's like the PBS, the Civil War, only out of the zombie war, and where they were going to interview people who survived this big war.
You're right, because if I looked at this in the bookstore, I would say, oh, okay, I get the joke. I'm not going to spend whatever it is, 400 pages now kind of reliving the joke. But they did a very different thing with this. They really acted it out.
Exactly. What I didn't like about it as a book is because it really is it's more like a comic book series where each monthly comic is a different story. So in the book form, it was very hard to really maintain a sort of momentum and really get that sort of, wow, I can't wait to see the next chapter, because the next chapter is probably going to be about something really different. But this really works for Audible because they decided to do it almost as like 24 different Audible short stories. It's set in the theme of what happens when zombies attack. And I'm just going to read, I'm on the Wikipedia page that has a list of all the different actors who participated in this in the form of survivors who are giving their stories. Alan Alda, Carl Reiner, Dean Edwards, Mark Hamill, Henry Rollins, John Turturro, Rob Reiner, Steve Park. I mean, just really, really great people who know how to put their own little spin on these stories. And it's also, on top of everything else, not only does that format really serve the book, it's also a really good service to the concept of audiobook formats. There are times when I've been listening to an audiobook and I just want to get to the end of the chapter because the story is so good. And so I'll sit there, I'll burn another bigger hole in the ozone, idling in the driveway, listening to the end of the chapter. These are things that you can consume in nice bite-sized chunks. And you can leave the car with a very, very satisfied experience that you reached the end of something. But then when you get back to the car the next day, hey, you got a whole new chapter to go through.
It's cool.
Story.
I didn't know Max Brooks was Mel Brooks' son.
Yep.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it was about what was going on in the writers' room of the show, your show of shows, but there's a lot of people who were working on that show that had a lot of kids who were also really, really. Well,
that's true. Rob Reiner's Carl Reiner's son. That's right. Yeah.
Right. And I would have to have more access to Wikipedia to look it up. But I know that there are a couple other people in that writer. It's a famous enough writers' room as it is. Yeah. But then you start to look at, actually they were smart enough people and good enough parents that they raised children that
funny also.
Also funny and also
passed along the neurosis. A good choice. I think a really great choice. I don't know what it is about zombies, but people love them. This is tongue-in-cheek and fun and good, and World War Z, an oral history of the zombie war, deadpan serious too, right? I mean, they act as if it happened.
Exactly, and they know how to play it's not necessarily a humor book, but they know how to play the joke. They know that once they start going all Catskills, hey, and another thing when you're fighting a zombie, the humor comes from the fact that they are really taking this very, very seriously, so they don't spoil the joke. They don't trip over themselves with the humor piece.
Very good choice. World War Z, an oral history of the zombie war. Get it free by going to audible.com/MacBreak. This is where audiobooks really shine when you get these dramatizations. But every audiobook from Audible is a dramatization in the sense that they pick the best actors, the best readers. You're not getting some guy droning on and on. They come to life. These are wonderful books. Not just books. You got radio shows. You've got comedy acts. You've got speeches. It's all there for you, and you're going to love it.
And hey, good news for your Microsoft Zune owners. Yay. In the latest update, Microsoft Zune, Audible now works with the Zune.
Another reason to switch to the Zune.
They are ecumenical. They embrace people of all faiths and beliefs. They don't judge. They just want your money. I appreciate that about them.
I have my Zune right here, and I have to upgrade it to 3.0, but I will be putting Audible books on it as well. But right now I want to mention Drobo. We're feeling droopy today, ladies and gentlemen. Man, am I kicking myself. You know, my server on Friday, my server died. We were using a RAID 5 array. I didn't have any choice because it was off at the SoftLayer data center, and that's how they do these things. And
you really wish there was a Drobo there.
Yeah, I posted, okay, you know, the server's down. I know we lost a lot of data. The RAID 5 completely died and marked all the disks bad, and the whole thing went down. And I can't tell you how many Twitters I got from people saying, should have bought a Drobo. The downside to being a wise ass is when you make a mistake, everybody lets you know. Yeah, I wish they'd let me had a Drobo in there. You know, they charge, I guess all hosting services do this, but I did buy some backup. I bought 200 gigs of backup, $180, not once. That itself would be twice as much as the going rate. $180 a month, per month for 200 gigs of backup. Yeah. See, if I had a Drobo, I could have a terabyte, I could have 16 terabytes. Anyway, Drobo is back, baby, with the new Drobo, the FireWire 800, second generation Drobo, twice as fast as the first generation Drobo, redundant against hard drive failures, better than RAID. I learned my lesson. Completely expandable. You get 4 drive bays in there. You slide in any drive you want. It adds them all up. You can go up to 4 terabytes per drive once they release 4 terabyte drives. I guess the biggest now is what, 1.5 terabytes? So they could become
175, I think.
175? Wow.
Actually, shopping for a new drive for the Drobo to give it a little bit of extra.
Well, this is the beauty of it, because so I had my Drobo with older drives, and it started running out. So I popped out the smallest drive, popped in the biggest drive I could find, and slowly you upgrade it. You don't lose any data. It's pretty amazing. FireWire. Go ahead.
I was at the MIT flea market on Sunday, and that's a great place to buy like mechanisms that are not the hot mechanism. But if you have a Drobo, it's like I can buy now like a 500 gig or a 1 terabyte drive for about a third the cost, like a pull that works just great from an old machine. And it's a really economical way to fill the thing. Although I was looking at, they had a big table, and I'm thinking, you know what? I should really be the iconoclast here and buy 4 40 gig mechanisms and have a whopping 60 gigs of storage with all 4 bits filled.
But I'm telling you, that 60 gigs is rock solid.
There you go. You know.
Well, that's the beauty of it. You can use old, low, slow drives because if one, the data is always secure. It just kills me.
Before, with a lot of the stuff before, I mean, one of the things that we worried about is we'd make 2 copies of everything to regular drives, and you're just constantly making, doubling up drives, and there was a lot of drives for us, and so it's nice not to feel like it has to be in 2 places.
I'm tempted to fly to Dallas with a Drobo under my arm and say, "Here, can you please just plug this into my server?" But they won't let me do that. I did buy extra in-house storage, and we're going to use Amazon S3 and have double. We have to do that exactly, Alex. We have to make 3 copies because I don't want this to happen ever again. If you've got a Drobo,
it wasn't enjoyable for you? You didn't really feel like you were getting back into it?
It isn't. I'm still restoring stuff. Twit's up, the Twit army down, Twit forums down. I had backups, but they're kind of spread out, and I'm slowly getting Leoville back. It's just been painful. Should have had a Drobo. So make sure you take advantage of the $25 off coupon by going to drobo.com/MacBreak. drobo.com/MacBreak. Now, it's $25 off either the new second generation FireWire Drobo, FireWire 800 USB 2, faster speeds, quieter and cooler operation. And by the way, those are specifically for Macs. You could put them on Windows, but it's hard to get FireWire 800 on Windows. I'm not saying they're only for Macs, but this is really they're saying to Mac people, we know you've got FireWire 800. We're going to make a better one. $25 off the old Drobo 2, the USB 2 that works on every box easily. Still a great deal. In fact, they've lowered the price on that. Take advantage of it. Go to drobo.com, drobo.com/MacBreak and enjoy your Drobo. And your data will be backed up in peace forever. I'm so jealous. I wish mine were.
Put all of your stuff on a Drobo.
Thank you, Jeff Smith.
When we say your stuff, we're talking about data. Okay? Don't send us any pictures because we're not into that sort of stuff.
Put all of your junk on a Drobo.
There you go. Just made it worse.
All right, we're going to take a little break, come back, and we're going to talk about your picks of the week. But first, it's time to mention my pick for plastic. I'm talking Visa here, ladies and gentlemen. When you go shopping online or off, you want to make sure you take along your Visa card. Visa makes sure that every purchase, everything you buy is safe and secure, so you can concentrate on the good stuff like, well, do I want the production package or do I want the web creative package? You don't have to think about, am I safe here? I don't have to worry about online fraud. No, all purchases are safe and secure with Visa. They have many ways to prevent, detect, and resolve online fraud, real-time fraud monitoring, for instance. Very sophisticated technology that identifies and responds immediately to fraudulent activity. Plus, zero liability. You're just not authorized, not liable for unauthorized purchases. That's what I like. That's peace of mind. That's safe. That's secure. That's Visa. Oh, and I have to turn up the Visa sound. Almost forgot the most important part, the Visa jingle.
All right, now I get it. I've got to give them some credit for being safe and secure. No problems, they assure. It's Visa, 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 Visa.
Now it's time. Time for our Mac Break Weekly Picks of the Week.
All right, folks. I doubt you're still listening to this, but you get the point there. That was one Mac Break. All of that was in one episode of Mac Break, my friends. Help me avoid ever having to do that for advertisers just to make ends meet here. $10 a month. In fact, if you go right now to gspn.tv/plus, you get the first 3 months half off. gspn.tv/plus. We'll talk to you soon, and hopefully next week for all of you new Plus members.